What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Realistic Career Mode. This is episode number 39. We're starting today's episode off by once again assessing our transfer budget for the final 2.5 weeks of the transfer window. 56 million remaining. After the big drubbing on the opening night to Aston Villa, I thought, do you know what? It's pretty clear I'm going to need to improve my defence. So with 56 million in the budget, I decided to sign a new centre-half. Now, we brought in Tosin Adarabioyo, but I wouldn't say he's a step up on Mark, let alone Salisu. And I wanted someone with first team quality to possibly come in and partner our Ghanaian defender. I had a few names on the shortlist, and the three I was mostly looking at were James Tarkowski, the vet at Burnley, Nico Elvedi of Borussia Mönchengladbach, and also this man here, formerly of Ajax and Spurs, now playing for Athletic Bilbao. And this is the reason I decided to sign this guy out of the three. Davinson Sanchez, the Colombian, is now playing for Athletic Bilbao, and as we know, that shouldn't really be happening. Athletic Bilbao have this policy where they'll only play and sign Basque players. As far as I'm aware, the Colombian has no Basque in him. So we negotiated a £16 million fee with Marcelino, which could prove to be a bargain. 4 million over the valuation. Under the valuation. And at 27 years old, 81 overall, he got a pay increase, double his salary. Definitely deserved that to a more realistic contract of 56 grand a week. And Davinson Sanchez is returning to the Premier League. We're a European standard team. We're a Europa League team now, so no reason why we can't sign players of this calibre. It's not like a world-class centre-half, but it is a decent one. Sanchez, I think since coming in from Ajax and you know, establishing himself as a first-team squad member at Spurs, he's always been one of those sort of inconsistent centre-halves, and there are several of them in the Premier League, and you'll know all about them. Like, some games, they are literally like Beckenbauer. I mean, they're sublime, absolutely flawless. Other games, a little bit shaky, and it can possibly cause a little bit of concern for the fans in the ground. Sanchez, to me, has always been that sort of player. Physically really strong, tall, commanding, but every now and then there's this concentration and composure that could potentially let him down. But for me, coming in from Bilbao for 16 mil, I think it could prove to be an absolute bargain there. 81 overall, 27 years old, in the prime of his career right now. He should partner Salisu as part of our backline to hopefully bolster what is looking like a weak defence based on match day one. And of course, the reason I signed him out of the three was because he's at Athletic Bilbao. Like I said, this series is all about realism. Sanchez shouldn't be at Athletic Bilbao, but I could see him being playing for a Europa League side and returning to the Premier League as well. Even so, following that signing there, I decided to make another signing, primarily for realism. Welcome back to Southampton, Harry Lewis. Now, for the reason I've done this, very simple, as I turn this bid down here for Che Adams. As we know, right now with Southampton, we've loaned out Busquets to Augsburg for a year, our academy goalkeeper, and it's very, very rare a professional football team, especially playing in a European competition, only has 2 goalkeepers in their first team squad. So we brought back a third choice goalkeeper on a free transfer, and the reason I chose Lewis, very simple, homegrown, train at the club, and that can be very important for squad registration rules. So yes, of course, as you know, if you're playing in a European competition, you need to have 4 players who are trained at the club and are considered homegrown club players. Harry Lewis is one of those. He helps us fill the criteria, becoming our new third choice goalkeeper. And speaking of homegrown players, speaking of free transfers, oh yes, I was delighted with this one. Welcome back to St Mary's. Alex Oxlade-Chamber from Southampton to Arsenal to Liverpool, and now returning to St Mary's. Like Theo Walcott and Gareth Bale, he is back home on the South Coast, and Chamberlain is in. I've always been a huge fan of Chamberlain. He plays with so much energy. He really is a committed type of player. He's one of those sort of players that can sort of do everything as well. You know, he's not terrible when he has to sit a little bit deeper, though he is better when going forward. He can play on the wing, he can play just in behind, or directly through the heart of the middle of the pitch. And Alex Oxlade-Chamber, now 30 years old. The problem the Ox has always got, there's never been concerns over his work rate and commitment. There's never been concerns over his technical ability. It's always been, can he stay consistent and can he stay injury-free? Those have been the main questions posed of him over his career with the Saints, with the Gunners, and with Liverpool as well. Well, back at St Mary's at 30 years old on a free transfer. He will most likely replace Stuart Armstrong, the Scot, who's out of contract at the end of the season and most likely due to leave in this summer window, if not at the end of the campaign. Chamberlain comes in, and again at 30 years old. We're getting a veteran to this team. We're getting a leader. We're getting someone that knows the club inside out, and also another homegrown player. The squad registration rules, they are so crucial in Europe. We've just brought back 2 of them in Lewis and the Ox as well. Thinking about it, when did Oxlade-Chamber move on from Southampton to Arsenal? I'm sure he is homegrown and trained in the club, both for Saints and Arsenal, I think. Interesting. Anyway, first game of 2 in today's episode here, away against Spurs. And on the back of the drubbing against Steven Gerrard's Aston Villa, I thought, heading into this game, I've just made 3 new signings here. We got Sanchez, who's back in the Premier League and back at his old stomping ground, making his debut here for the Saints. Chamberlain on the bench as well. I've got to perform better than on match day 1. I've got to play better. And whilst I haven't picked up a scout since the series began so far in the Premier League, 12 attempts, no wins. Away against Spurs, I had this very brief period at the start of the game where I was feeling optimistic, and I decided to go at Tottenham, and I got my reward as well. Adam Armstrong blazed a shot into orbit early, but soon afterwards, Romain Perrault, who we rejected a bid from Nice from in the last episode, fires one past Lloris with the weaker right foot and puts us a goal up in North London. And I was thinking, okay, alright, leading by 1. Let's stay in attack mode. 24 minutes in, looking to double our lead. Armstrong rolls through Brennan Johnson, down the right-hand side, in for the injured Ritsu, rolls it across, and who's there to turn it in from 4 yards? Oh, when I signed Mina in the last episode, I said this guy's only got 1 year left in him, I think. Gareth Bale says, boss, I am timeless. 31 minutes in, we're leading by 2. Gareth Bale back at Spurs, scores at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for Southampton, and it's 2-0 to the Saints. And 33 minutes in, after a really nice build-up, I thought it'd gone 3-0 up. Adam Armstrong blasts one past Lloris. I thought it was onside initially. It seems like the defender at the far post had his trailing leg keeping Armstrong on. Look at this here on the replay. That's tight. That's really tight. It's the camera angle that makes him look more offside than he actually is. I think it's the right call, but it's a lot tighter than the angle suggested. Even so, leading by 2, and in the second half, it also went 3-0 up. A shot from range, well stopped by Hugo, still leading by 2. But that was how the game would finish, and there it is. Final score in North London, Spurs 0, Southampton 2. Sanchez comes in and returns against his former club and keeps a clean sheet on his debut, and the Saints, for the first time, at the 13th time of asking in the Premier League, have picked up a scout. Yes, finally, we have got one. A great controlled display in this game. Slowed the pace down completely, played at a walking pace, took the life out of the stadium, and got the deserved win by 2-0. Great defensive display after drubbing 4-0 at Villa Park. We'll talk about your responses there. A 2-0 win away against Spurs for our first scalp in the Premier League. Absolutely buzzing. Still, following that, as you can see, it was time for the draw for the Europa League group stage. Our first ever season playing European football with Southampton. I couldn't wait to find out who we've got. So in our first year in Europe, the Saints will be drawn against in the Europa League group stage. There we are, Group G. And it's Real Betis, Victoria Poulsen, and Shamrock Rovers. Do you know, I can't tell you why this is, but I love facing Irish clubs in Europe. Don't ask me why. I've not got any Irish in me, as far as I'm aware. I've got a bit of Northern Irish in me, but even so, well, I haven't got Northern Irish in me, but my uncle married a Northern Irish woman. Bit of a weird thing to say, but okay. But even so, I don't know what it is, but I love facing Irish teams in Europe. I don't know why it is. Sometimes it's Shamrock Rovers, sometimes it's Dundalk. Whoever we face, I love it. Shamrock Rovers in the Europa League, plus a Czech side in Victoria Poulsen, and also Real Betis, the Spanish side as well. And I'd say, looking at that group there, I would say if we're not favourites, then we're second fairest. I think Real Betis and us are the strongest 2 teams in the group. No disrespect to Victoria Poulsen or Shamrock Rovers, but I would probably say, looking at all 3 of the teams we'll be facing are over 6 games, I'd say if we're not favourites, then we're second fairest. Betis are having a good season in real life in La Liga, as we know. Victoria Poulsen have spent several years playing European football. Shamrock Rovers have had some experience playing in the Europa League. I think it was a few years ago. Am I thinking of Shamrock Rovers? Now, I might be wrong here. Irish football fans, please correct me if I am. Was it a few years ago Shamrock Rovers qualified for the Europa League group stage and had Spurs? I think I'm right. but I might be wrong. But even so, I think it's us and Batista front runners to that group there. As long as we get through, that's all that matters to me. But of course, we know we target top spot, as that'll give us the bye to go through to the last 16. Even so, second and final game of today's episode, the Toffees, Everton taking on Frank Lampard's side here at St Mary's. Worst possible start. Starting the game off, Alvaro Morata, the Spaniard, now at Goodison Park, nets the opening goal of the game. And I thought, come on, man. We just beat Spurs away. This is our first game at St Mary's. Let's not lose our first home game, shall we? Che Adams puts us back on level terms to make it 1-1 and put us back on level terms. And in 5 minutes after the restart, Adam Armstrong searched for his first goal of the season, fires one just wide as we were still tied at 1-1. 88 minutes in, still level. We would see Everton almost find a winner. And wouldn't you just know it, he shipped 4 on the opening night of Villa Park, but a shutout at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium against his former club. Well, he took a gamble signing Jordan Pickford, but it might well prove to pay off. Big save there by the former Toffee against his former team ensures we do claim a point. Final score against the Toffees, 1-1 at St Mary's. And a pretty difficult start to start the season off. From 9 points possible, we've only picked up 4. 1 win, 1 draw and 1 defeat and just a 1 clean sheet as well. There's a long way to go. I'm not going to hit the panic button just yet. With a bit of money still remaining in our budget and deadline day right around the corner, I'm just thinking possibly with only 3 goals in our opening 3 games, we might need a bit more creativity or firepower. But that will end today's episode of the Realistic Career, guys. Big fan of watching. Enjoyed it. If you like, most of you all have a fantastic day, and I'll see you for the next episode of the Realistic Career Mode. Don't miss it. It features an amazing goal plus a transfer deadline day signing too, and I'll see you for it very soon.